Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Friday the 11th of March 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, Australia's most popular business podcast, that's us, Fear and Greed, brings you the 5 news items you need to know about. Let's jump into it. Story number 1 is the local share market. It closed down just under 1% today to 7,064 points. That followed a couple of strong days. It was a broad-based drop led by tech stocks, consumer discretionary companies and real estate and healthcare groups. Energy companies performed best. In fact, it was a very topsy-turvy day and topsy-turvy week, really. Among the large caps today, CSL was down 2.3% and property group Goodman was off nearly 3%. The banks were mixed and the big miners were up a bit. The worst performer was buy now, pay later group Zipco. It cannot find a friend. It fell more than 7%. Magellan Financial and software group Appen both dropped more than 6%. Lithium group Alchem was the best performer, up more than 5%. There was actually more action in the bond market. This morning, US inflation printed at 7.9%. That's a 40-year high. It's now almost a certainty that the world's largest central bank will begin lifting interest rates next week. That sent bond yields rising to 3-year highs. A quick 101 on bond yields. Bonds provide fixed returns, and most of us hold them in our superannuation funds. If interest rates are likely to rise, future bonds will offer higher fixed rates. So the value of the bonds in circulation today, in relative terms, fall. In investor speak, bond prices decline and their yields rise. And that's exactly what happened today, meaning the value of the bonds in my superannuation fund fell today. Story number 2 comes from the corridors of the Reserve Bank. Governor Philip Lowe this morning said it would be prudent to plan for an interest rate rise this year. That's not saying it's coming, but it is telling the world the central bank is thinking about it. The number of economists and banks expecting a rate rise in the next 6 months is growing. Dr. Lowe also said he was surprised by his deputy's decision to leave the central bank just 18 months before the governor himself is due to finish. Guy Debelle is off to work for Fortescue Future Industries, combining his love of capital markets with his belief in climate change and the impact it has on the economy. Story number 3 is all about COVID. Unfortunately, Australians are starting to hear more about it because of the latest subvariant of Omicron, which has hit New South Wales and caused a spike in numbers. Alongside a spike as the weather gets colder, we could end up with many more COVID cases than hoped. The federal government is now considering allowing a second booster shot for older Australians in what would be part of an annual coronavirus immunisation program. New South Wales recorded 14,000 new COVID cases today, and Victoria recorded nearly 7,000 cases. Story number 4. Both sides of politics paid tribute today to the former Labor Senator Kimberley Kitching, who died yesterday of a suspected heart attack, aged just 52. If you want to see an incredibly moving moment about her life, look up Bill Shorten's tribute to her on Radio National this morning. The forthright Senator Kitching was known as a fierce human rights campaigner, a strident critic of China, a defender of national security, and dogged in her determination to hold government to account. She was instrumental in passing the Magnitsky laws, which enable the targeting of human rights abuses. And finally, story number 5 comes from social media land. Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, will temporarily change its hate speech policy and allow posts calling for the deaths of Russian President Vladimir Putin and Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko from users in some countries, including Russia, Ukraine and Poland. Calls for violence against Russian civilians won't be allowed. So many ethical dilemmas in that one. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 11th of March, 2022. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Saturday Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.